Okay, so now we are recording. Welcome everybody out tonight for our program. We're very excited to be joining with the Robert Hainsworth Law Library again for part 2 of our series, Legal Research from the Ground Up. And this part 2 is going to be covering finding legal forms and information online. Last month in March, we had part 1. Joined with Sabrina from the Law Library, and tonight we're pleased to be joined by another wonderful employee from the Law Library, Miss Heather Holmes. I'll do a quick introduction for Heather, and then Heather will go ahead and get started. Before I introduce Heather, though, a few housekeeping things for those who are joining with us live. There is a chat feature. You're welcome to click on that chat button near the top of your screen and ask any questions during the presentation. We'll save, I think, questions until the end. Heather, is that okay with you?
That sounds good.
So we'll go ahead and save those questions till the end. And for those of you who may tune in afterwards, feel free to either email us or email the Law Library with your questions. I'm sure they would be happy to answer them as well. Okay. So let me just do a quick introduction. So Heather Holmes is an assistant law librarian at the Harris County Robert W. Hainsworth Law Library, and that's part of the Harris County's Attorney's Office. Before joining the Hainsworth Law Library staff in 2016, Heather was a librarian at the South Texas College of Law, where she worked for 12 years. Heather loves sharing information and helping library users locate the resources they need to address their legal concerns. So thank you again, Heather, so much for joining us tonight for our presentation. And I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that introduction, and thanks so much for giving us the opportunity to speak tonight. This is really great to have this partnership, and we're happy to always share information about the Law Library. As Carl said, this is legal research from the ground up. We'll be talking about finding legal forms online and some other self-help legal resources. So bear with me here. I'm just going to share the screen and cross my fingers. Let's see that it works. Are we good? We're sharing? Okay, fantastic. All right. So let's see here. Okay, here we are. So this is me. I'm assistant law librarian, and this is our contact information. We are located downtown at 1019 Congress in the courthouse complex, just 2 or 3 blocks, I would say, from the district clerk's office where a lot of our patrons file their legal documents. But we are also offering virtual services, which I'll mention in the program as well. So for the time being, we have a limited opening due to the pandemic, but we're really hoping to open up soon again with full expanded hours and complete access to the collection. So I'm just going to jump in. I'm going to start actually with a bit of a story about a famous legal case. And the kind of the point of the story is to talk about the unmet legal needs that exist in Houston, in Harris County, in Texas, nationwide, really. And this kind of grouping of little cartoons here is based on a meme that went around the internet for a while that was showing how to distribute resources to create equality and equity. And then this one has been modified to also say, here's how we can provide justice. And so with this last picture, I really like it because it shows everyone standing, maybe not on an even footing, but at least the barrier to access is lowered. So everyone can see over the wall and see the sunset or the sunrise, or however you view that, sun up or sun down. But anyway, everybody has access. And so the barriers are reduced. And that's what we try to do every day at the Harris County Hainsworth Law Library, is to reduce barriers to access to the justice system. So it's a fact that everyone is going to need an attorney at some point in their lives for some reason. You might lose a loved one and need to probate their estate, or perhaps you wish to draft a will of your own. You might wish to file a personal injury lawsuit for an auto accident, for instance, or you might be starting a business, getting divorced, filing for bankruptcy, adopting a child. So many major life events require the guidance or counsel of an attorney. But many times people are unaware that their personal issues could actually be more effectively resolved by hiring a lawyer. Legal representation can be expensive, and for many low-income individuals, it may be completely out of reach. Some low-income litigants may qualify for legal aid and/or find other solutions, such as mediation, alternative dispute resolution, or limited scope legal representation. But what they are not entitled to, according to the law, is free legal representation or public defense of the sort that's guaranteed to those who are facing criminal charges. So for civil legal matters, there is no public defense. A person charged with a crime, however, is assigned a public defender as a result of a pivotal case called Gideon v. Wainwright. And this is the story that I promised. Gideon v. Wainwright was a case that was decided in 1963 involving a wrongly accused man in Florida. He had a 6th grade education. His name was Clarence Earl Gideon. He was described, as I've been reading about him, described variously as a drifter or a petty thief. He was arrested for allegedly stealing assorted bottles of beer and Coca-Cola, along with about $60 or so in jukebox proceeds from a local pool hall. He was sentenced to a 5-year term of incarceration, but ultimately served about 2 of those years after appealing his case to the U.S. Supreme Court. And he won his right to be tried again, this time with legal representation. So as a result of his efforts, anyone accused of a criminal offense today for a misdemeanor or a felony is entitled to public defense. So this is the 6th Amendment's guarantee of counsel in criminal cases is guaranteed as a fundamental right essential to a fair trial as provided by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. As I mentioned, no equivalent exists for civil litigation, but in recent years, there's been a push to advocate for what they call civil Gideon, the right to legal counsel in civil cases. As I say, no equivalent exists for civil litigation, or it exists in limited circumstances and jurisdictions, even when basic human needs such as shelter, sustenance, safety, health, or child welfare are at issue. Common civil legal concerns include those that you see listed here, and we help library patrons every day who visit us or call about primarily these and some other common legal issues. Family law tops the list of the most common legal concerns, followed by probably probate, estate planning, guardianships, assistance with personal injury lawsuits, and general civil litigation is also frequently requested. But many patrons have much more dire concerns. And those potentially dire legal concerns include some of the things you see listed here. These are problems experienced by ordinary people every day. Due to the acute nature of such concerns, the people who experience these problems are often in crisis. The courts stay very busy handling matters like these, particularly for indigent or low-income individuals who really could greatly benefit from but cannot afford a lawyer. I mentioned that some jurisdictions across the country provide a limited degree of legal assistance for more dire civil legal concerns. Children in particular are sometimes given representation in court, including those in the juvenile dependency system or child protective services, or those who are unaccompanied minors in immigration or detention hearings. A right of counsel might also exist in guardianship, probate, and civil commitment proceedings. But what about Texas? The law in Texas says that if the public and private interests at stake are exceptional, appointing a lawyer may be the best way to administer justice. But according to state law, that decision will be made at the discretion of the judge. So the Texas Government Code states that a judge in either county or district court may appoint counsel to attend to the cause of a party who makes an affidavit that he is too poor to employ an attorney. In essence, Texas courts have both a general power to appoint counsel if they so wish for indigent litigants in civil cases, and the specific obligation to do so in a limited context for some of those more dire legal concerns that I mentioned. So this brings us to the point I'm trying to make and provides an explanation of why we at the Hainsworth Law Library do what we do to serve the residents of Harris County. Our goal is to improve access to justice, which is defined as the ability of any person, regardless of income, to use the legal system to advocate for themselves and their interests. This is a definition that's been put forth by the Texas Access to Justice Commission. And I think this quote here from former Supreme Court Justice Lewis Powell Jr. really captures the heart of access to justice when he says, "It is fundamental that justice should be the same in substance and availability without regard to economic status." The justice gap. Because of this disparity in access to the justice system, there is a clear and ever widening gap between those who need civil legal aid and the availability of resources to meet their needs. So in other words, a lot of people need help to draft legal documents or simply to navigate the legal system, but they cannot afford it. And so that's where we come in. We're not lawyers, we're librarians. So we cannot, according to law, provide legal advice, but we can provide legal information. The Supreme Court of Texas takes this so seriously that they have appointed a special commission just to address any such abuses of the law of providing legal advice when you're not a licensed Texas attorney. We are happy to provide legal information and to guide you to the best resources for representing yourself in court or for any other legal research need you may have. And all of this finally brings us to a discussion of how we can help. So for starters, I will tell you a little bit about us. We often encounter people in the community who are not aware that a public law library even exists for Harris County, but this isn't a huge surprise. Most people don't learn about the law library until they need legal information or find themselves in one of these dire crisis situations that I mentioned, or even something a more routine civil legal matter may come up in someone's life. But until they have that need, they might not be aware that we exist. So we are a just-in-time kind of place. We're the kind of resource that's available right when you need it. And for those situations, we are very happy to help. We take our responsibility as a legal information resource center to heart. Our commitment to serving the community is embodied in our mission to provide open and equal access to justice for all in the most appropriate and cost-effective formats possible, and to provide educational opportunities like this presentation tonight that are designed to enhance understanding of legal information and how it is accessed. In keeping with the spirit of this mission statement, we took action in 2021, just last year, to address a historical wrong. We are called the Robert W. Hainsworth Law Library. On February 9th, 2021, the Harris County Commissioner's Court approved a resolution to rededicate the Harris County Law Library in honor of a local civil rights leader who was Mr. Robert W. Hainsworth. He graduated from Howard University School of Law in 1949 and then returned to Houston to practice law. Upon his arrival, he was confronted by overt discrimination and segregationist policies. These policies limited his access to local government buildings, including the law library, where he was permitted to sit at only one table that was designated by a sign that read colored. He challenged the practice as unconstitutional and sued for open and equal access for all in Hainsworth versus Harris County Commissioner's Court. But his appeals were denied in Texas courts. He finally appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1954, making national news at the time. However, just months after declaring separate but equal to be inherently unequal, the nation's highest court rejected his appeal without comment. Despite this obvious injustice, Mr. Hainsworth continued to work towards equality. In 1955, Mr. Hainsworth and several other African-American attorneys founded the Houston Lawyers Association, a professional organization for African-American lawyers who were denied admission to the Houston Bar Association because of their race. So today, the Law Library is humbled to honor Mr. Robert W. Hainsworth in recognition of his fight for justice. And I'll now talk something about access to services and resources available at the Law Library and online. There are some limits, as I mentioned, to the kind of service we can provide. The Law Library is reserved exclusively, really, for folks who are engaged in law-related research. If you need access to legal forms or information, we are here to guide you. If you need legal advice, however, we will refer you to legal aid organizations or lawyer referral services. As I mentioned, we are librarians, not lawyers, so we're not allowed to engage in the unauthorized practice of law, but we can provide legal information. And just to clarify what that means, we can guide people to useful research and materials. We can show folks how to use legal resources and refer you to legal help organizations, but we can't tell people what to do or what the law means. We can't interpret the law. We can't do legal research on someone else's behalf, and we can't fill out forms for people or tell them which specific form they might need for their legal need. We do at the Law Library, I like to mention this because a lot of people are always surprised to hear that we offer notary services. We have, I believe, 4 staff members who are notaries commissioned by the state of Texas to notarize documents. These services are always free, and we are happy to provide the service, and very glad that we're able to offer this. We haven't always had notary services available, but in the last, I'd say 3-4 years or so, we've been able to offer this for free. One thing I must say, though, is we are unable to define any legal terms or interpret legal language on the forms. So we can't tell you, for instance, which party you are on the form and where to sign, that kind of thing. We are just really there to verify your identity and make sure that you are who you say you are. And so that's basically a little introduction just to us. And I won't go into much more detail about that because the part one of this little mini series of legal information presentations really goes into greater depth about the law library and its services. And I know that recording is available for viewing, so I will turn instead to the focus of tonight's presentation, which is accessing legal forms and other resources. So to begin, we should ask the question, what is a form? It sounds like an easy question, but we get this all the time, some confusion, understandably, surrounding the definition of a legal form. Legal forms for self-represented legal work are usually created by legal aid organizations or nonprofit groups, or they may be offered by county or district clerk's offices. You will not always find a downloadable fill-in-the-blank form for your situation, which is an important thing to keep in mind as you search for forms. But in that case, if you cannot find a form online, you may need to look at legal practice guides, either at the law library or in person via our digital collection. Let's see. So if you still cannot find a form, one simply may not exist, and you or your attorney may need to create a custom form. But if you are able to find a form that is designed for a self-represented litigant, of which there are many available through some of the resources we're going to talk about tonight, you can really help yourself in court. How do I use these forms? The library can't advise you on how to use a form or whether a form is appropriate for your situation. An attorney or legal aid organization could advise you on how to use a form, what to include, or help you determine which form is appropriate. And at the end of this presentation, I will mention some options for legal aid in Harris County. Why can't I find the legal form I'm looking for? As I mentioned, there may not always be a form available. The state itself publishes very few legal forms for use in legal proceedings. Because each lawsuit is different, it is difficult to create standard fill-in-the-blank forms for every legal need. Instead, many private publishers create drafting guides or templates that are commonly referred to as legal forms. Depending on the specifics of your situation, a drafting guide may need to be customized for your specific set of facts. So how can the library help me with this? The library can help you determine if a form by a specific name is located online or in a library resource. We can also point you to resources or other websites that discuss a specific legal topic and may contain drafting guides or templates, as I mentioned. We can't help you determine which form you need or assist you in filling out the form, but we are more than happy to point you in the right direction. And fortunately, a lot of really good information is freely available. So where are forms found? Forms and information needed to complete legal work and learn about the law, many are freely available online. But finding them from a reputable and reliable source is not always easy. For starters, be sure to steer clear of websites that charge a fee. Lots of good information is available for free and can be found in the places you see listed here: Harris County offices, individual court websites, state agency websites, and on the websites of legal aid organizations or other nonprofit groups who work to advance access to justice. The Harris County Clerk and the District Clerk websites are excellent places to find many of the forms required for civil proceedings. Individual court web pages also provide good information about how things are handled in a particular court and which specific form or version of a form is preferred by that court's judge. So it's always a good idea if you are assigned to a particular court to visit that court's website, which you can always find easily by Googling Harris County Court number 247 or 305 or whatever that court number might be. And then the judge will often post policies and procedures and make some forms available, which I always tell folks are the best ones to use because obviously the judge likes those forms. And if you can use the form that the judge likes, I think that that's the best way to go. We could also add to this list the Harris County Tax Assessor Collector's Office, as well as a number of other entities within the county that provide services to residents. And if you really want to learn about all the various county offices and the roles that all of these players, all the roles that they play in the county system, there's a good website here that TexasCountiesDeliver.org, which gives a lot of good information about what is the district clerk, what is the county clerk, what services does each provide, what role do they play. In addition to county resources, you may sometimes find the form you need on a state agency website. A good example of this is the Texas Department of Health and Human Services, which provides links to things like advanced directives. And these are the forms that are used to establish power of attorney or medical power of attorney. Other useful state agency websites include the Department of Housing and Community Affairs, the Texas Department of Insurance, the Departments of Transportation and Public Safety, or the Texas Department on Aging, Disability, and Veterans. On these sites, you will find official forms required by the state for the very specific needs for which each department is responsible. So it's good to go directly to a state source if you know that you need a specific form for that entity. Okay, so now we'll talk a little bit about legal information resources beyond what's available on government sites. And these are the ones I mentioned, like legal aid organizations or nonprofit groups, like TexasLawHelp.org, which is our favorite go-to site for a lot of really good information for self-represented litigants. eFile Texas.gov, which is the e-filing system used to file documents with the courts electronically. The Texas Justice Court Training Center, and Texas Appleseed, which we'll go into some detail about. They have a lot of really good toolkits and micro websites within their website. Let's see. So TexasLawHelp.org is an online resource for free and low-cost civil legal assistance in Texas. It's managed by the Texas Legal Services Center, a nonprofit organization that provides free legal services to underserved Texans in need of education, advice, and representation. The mission of the Texas Legal Services Center and Texas Law Help is to increase access to the justice system for all Texans. Texas Law Help is part of a national legal aid effort that is using technology to enhance and expand the delivery of legal services. In the last year, more than 5 million people visited this website. Topics covered on Texas Law Help run the gamut. They include everything you see listed here. Family law is by far the most popular topic on the site, with divorce and child custody topping the list of most frequently requested forms. Toolkits with instructions, court forms, and checklists are provided. There are also lists of resources in the legal help directory, as well as a calendar of legal events and clinics across the state. So for instance, if you were to look at that calendar of events and clinics and you applied filters limiting your results to Harris County only, you would find perhaps a helpful clinic that's being offered now with information about arranging child custody during the spring and summer holidays. So parents can actually chat with an attorney about legal issues like visitation, custody, and modifications to visitation and custody orders during the seasons when children are out of school. So that's just one example of the kind of resource that's available. Texas Law Help also offers a live chat service that connects the user to an attorney, paralegal, or law student. You can chat with them in real time. And the services they provide include navigation of their website. They'll give you legal information and legal advice, and it's completely free. I have another slide for this later on in the presentation, but I'll just mention that they offer the live chat Monday through Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And whenever that chat service is available, you'll see an icon in the bottom right corner of your screen, which will make it clear that the live chat service is in operation. So there's so much on this website, and I was contemplating going out to visiting the website and giving you kind of a tour of what's available, but there is just simply so much content. I decided to try to capture it in a couple of screenshots, which probably really doesn't do it justice, but this will give you at least a taste of what the website looks like. If you needed to file for divorce, for instance, and you have children under the age of 18 or still in high school, you might find information like this. You'll see that this is a guide that provides an overview of the topic. It includes instructions and forms that you would file in court. And then it has links to additional articles if you want to learn more about that topic. So on the right side, you'll see there is actually, this is the first page of an original petition for divorce. It's page 1 of an 11-page document that you would file in court to initiate divorce proceedings. And along with this is an entire packet of the forms that you would need to complete the divorce process, including the petition that starts the case, the final decree that the judge will sign, other documents that you sort of need in between, and some other things that are required by the district clerk's office for civil filings in Texas and Harris County. And there are also similar forms available through eFile Texas.gov. So in Texas, attorneys are required to file documents electronically, but self-represented litigants or pro se litigants are not. Learning to use the e-filing software can be a significant time investment. There's a bit of a learning curve to it. So many, if not most, pro se litigants choose to file documents in paper at the district clerk's office. However, if you do wish to e-file, and I certainly don't discourage you from doing so, but just be aware that there is a little bit of a learning curve. If you do wish to e-file and a guided form is available on the self-help page, it can be a big time saver. So I'll give you a good example of how the guide and file program works. Let's see. So if you're being sued in civil court and you need to file a respondent's original answer, you can find an appropriate form on TexasLawHelp.org. Section 4 on that form will ask you to provide, quote, affirmative defenses, and it refers you to the rules of civil procedure. This is an important step because, as the form states, if you file an answer and do not claim an affirmative defense, you may forever give up that defense. So this is risky territory. The beauty of TexasLawHelp.org is that if you need help defining an unfamiliar term like affirmative defenses, you are likely to find the link to a relevant article on the website. You can then read about what an affirmative defense is and see a list of examples. At that point, you might actually feel comfortable enough to prepare your own respondent's original answer, or you might consider using the guide and file program that is offered at selfhelp.efiletexas.gov. On that site, it will actually prompt you. They call it an interview. So it goes through and prompts you to answer a series of questions about your situation and hopefully make your selection of the appropriate affirmative defenses less difficult. So once you've answered the questions, it will then populate a form with your replies. So it fills out the form for you, and then you have a document that's ready to be e-filed through the self-help e-filing system. So that's a brief look at Texas Law Help and the e-filing system. This is another really great website. It's the Texas Justice Court Training Center. This is an educational endeavor of the Justices of the Peace and Constables Association, and it's funded by a grant from the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals and hosted by the Texas State University. The number and variety of forms on this site is truly impressive. I've found forms on this website that I've not been able to find anywhere else, or at least not in such a user-friendly format that's designed for the self-represented litigant. The topics on this website include those that you see listed here. This project also provides access to online learning resources so you can gain a better understanding of things such as eviction, criminal history reporting, and occupational driver's licenses. Another website that we often refer folks to is the TexasCourtHelp website. This website provides a lot of good information, but also some short videos on the topics that you see here. So deciding whether to represent yourself in court, how to file a lawsuit or respond to a lawsuit, and what to expect when you're both going to court before, during, and after the whole process, appearing in court, getting ready for court, learning court procedures. So it's a really good website for these short little videos that are very plain language, plain spoken, and they give good examples of the kinds of things you encounter when you are actually engaging with the justice system. Now, Texas Appleseed, I mentioned, is this fantastic website that includes all kinds of resources. But one of the things that I like to point out is the different microsites that they offer. And so I've highlighted 4 of them here: Clean Slate Texas, Managing Someone Else's Money in Texas, My Debt Collection Rights in Texas, and Ticket Help Texas. So we'll look at each of those individually just briefly. The first one, Clean Slate, allows a person with a criminal record to determine eligibility for expunction and non-disclosure. So if you wanted to try to clear your criminal record or at least kind of conceal the information on your criminal records. So when a background search is conducted, some of your criminal history may not be visible. If you want to determine your eligibility for these options, you can go to this website here. It will link you to forms and other resources that can be used to clear any convictions that might qualify. So this is a good place to turn when you really don't know where to begin and you're not sure if you're even eligible. But Clean Slate Texas is an excellent resource for just at least getting started. This one here is a toolkit for managing someone else's money in Texas. It is intended for financial caregivers who manage money or property for those who are unable to do so themselves. It consists of 5 guides in both English and Spanish. Each of the guides is tailored to the needs of different groups, including people who are either agents under a power of attorney, appointed by a court to be guardians or conservators, people who are named as trustees under revocable living trusts, or appointed by a government agency to manage income benefits, or acting as a supporter under a supported decision-making agreement. So all of these different guides that you see, the 5 here available in English and Spanish, address those topics, again, in plain language, that are very accessible and easy to understand. This is a good resource. I don't know of anything else available online that's quite so well organized and designed for this purpose. Another toolkit here, My Debt Collection Rights in Texas. This is a new toolkit by Texas Appleseed. It helps inform Texans of their rights, and it helps people to learn about debt collection. It helps Texans spot scams and other deceptive practices. It also has guidebooks that cover 4 different areas. So tips to determine if a debt collection call is real or a scam, common scare tactics used by debt collectors, what to do if you're sued by a debt collector, and what it means to be judgment proof. Other key resources include informational videos, which feature actual experiences of 2 Texans, and a form that Texans can use to respond to a lawsuit for debt collection. The last toolkit I'll mention is Ticket Help Texas, and this is a resource for those who need to resolve unpaid fines or other costs in criminal cases. It includes a link to documents, forms, and sample letters that can be used to request things such as a reduction in fines or enrollment in a payment plan. It also provides letter templates to request things like community service or credit for time served. And then there are websites that provide information on very specialized topics. This first one here is the Texas Tenant Advisor. This is an excellent resource that provides tenants with general information about renting homes. The site is provided and maintained by Texas Housers, which is an organization dedicated to helping tenants obtain a decent and affordable home in a quality neighborhood of their choice. In addition to offering best practices and tips for renters, the site also explains your rights as a Texas tenant. It provides many useful forms to help you file the appropriate documents to ensure that your rights are being protected and that problems or violations of the law can be addressed through the legal system. So you'll see here on the left, there's a list of forms. This is a snippet of just some of the things that are available that you can download. They also provide a list of best practices and tips, and they explain what your rights are before you move in, while you're renting, when you're moving out, and additional resources that will guide you through any kind of legal process that you might encounter while you're renting a home. The Texas Attorney General's website, of course, is the go-to source for forms and information regarding child support and also paternity. It provides a list of authorized paternity testing sites. So if you need to file an acknowledgement or a denial of paternity, you'll find that information here. The Texas Office of the Attorney General's Child Support Division also offers an access and visitation legal hotline, which is this texasaccess.org that's in the corner of this slide. It provides parents with basic legal information about issues related to family law, including things like custody, visitation, and child support. It's available weekdays from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., and they will take calls in both English and Spanish. I have a slide here just for, this is the Southern District of Texas bankruptcy page where they have forms for filing Chapter 7, Chapter 13, other bankruptcy forms that you would find here, which is something that people do approach on their own, but often requires the assistance of an attorney. Regardless, the forms and a fee schedule are available on this website. Then the Travis County Law Library has a nice collection of forms on their website as well. One of the things that's available only through the Travis County Law Library website is this list of forms that you'll see here for folks who are changing their name and or their gender marker. So if they're filing in court for a gender marker correction, they can find the forms that they need to file with the court here on the Travis County Law Library website. And finally, the Bureau of Vital Statistics, which is through the Department of State Health Services. And here you can find things like a correction form for a birth certificate. Often we have patrons who come in who have the incorrect name on their birth certificate, or wrong parentage or something like that. And they have the forms available that you can file with the Bureau of Vital Statistics to correct those kinds of issues. Even if it might require a legal name change prior to updating your birth certificate, you can at least find the form that you need here, and we can guide you through the process of filing for the legal name change before you get to this step. But this is where you would go to find that kind of form. And let's see, how are we for time? Okay, so getting legal help. There are several legal aid resources available and legal assistance lines that you can call throughout Houston and Harris County. The Houston Volunteer Lawyers, Lone Star Legal Aid, the HBA, that's the Houston Bar Association Legal Line, and Free Texas Legal Answers are probably the top 4 that we recommend or point people to on a daily basis. We'll talk about those in just a moment. And then there are a number of legal aid hotlines. These are just a few. The Veterans Legal Assistance Project, the Access and Visitation Hotline that I mentioned on the Child Support website, the CPS Family Helpline, Houston Apartment Association that helps with housing and tenant issues. That's both in English and Spanish. A Pension Rights Project, that's an interesting site to find if you're trying to secure pension or retirement benefits. You have questions about that. And then there is a dedicated line for Texans who are experiencing civil legal issues as a result of the pandemic. And then there is this legal hotline for Texans who are 60 or older and or are Medicare recipients. So these are just a few of the legal aid hotlines. They have different hours, of course, and some are more limited than others, but they are good resources when you want to speak with someone who can actually provide you oftentimes legal advice. As I mentioned, we can provide information, not advice, but a lot of these folks are able to actually advise you and guide you more specifically in how to approach a legal matter regarding any of these topics. So the Houston Volunteer Lawyers, as I mentioned, was one of our top 4 that we refer folks to. It is the largest provider of pro bono legal services in Harris County and the surrounding areas. Thousands of private attorneys and members of the Houston Bar Association volunteer their time and expertise each year to provide free legal assistance on civil legal matters to eligible low-income area residents. Houston Volunteer Lawyers partners with a number of local organizations, as well as the legal clinics at Houston's 3 law schools, the University of Houston, Texas Southern University, and South Texas College of Law. Primary initiatives of Houston Volunteer Lawyers include assistance to veterans, an eviction defense program, a low-income tax clinic, a medical legal initiative through which they partner with the Texas Children's Hospital to integrate legal services into healthcare. Lone Star Legal Aid is a wonderful legal aid organization that provides legal aid services to clients who meet the financial eligibility requirements. So those income requirements and limits change annually, but they can be found by accessing the U.S. Federal Poverty Guidelines online. And then they say, even if you earn more than 125% of the Federal Poverty Guideline, which is kind of their standard guideline, they say they may still be able to help if you qualify under one of their special projects. And in addition to providing legal aid, they have a number of useful videos on their website that cover things like getting help if you can't pay your mortgage, how to handle an eviction or a lockout, debt collection again, how to get unemployment benefits, how to proceed during a court hearing. So they have a lot of information available, some in Spanish, some in Vietnamese as well. And the Houston Bar Association Legal Line is definitely one worth mentioning. This is a legal line that is offered only twice a month, on the first and third Wednesdays for the English line, and on the first Thursday of each month for the Spanish line. You can actually call through their website here, hba.org. You can click on this blue square or the green square to request free legal advice. You sign up for a time slot, which would be on the designated evening between the hours of 5 and 8 p.m. An attorney will then call you and they will speak with you for 15 to 20 minutes or so, giving simple legal advice, answering legal questions, and referring you to helpful resources. All the volunteers are licensed Texas attorneys. This is a fantastic resource for the kinds of things that, again, we can't provide necessarily because it's legal advice, but because they are lawyers, they are allowed to offer more advice and guidance than we can beyond just information. Let's see, and then this one, if perhaps you need an answer to a legal question, but you can't wait until the first or third Wednesday of the month, there is this website, Free Texas Legal Answers, which is a program of the American Bar Association. It's a virtual legal aid clinic in which qualifying users post civil legal questions to be answered by pro bono attorneys who are licensed in Texas, and they cover things like family, divorce, custody, housing, eviction, homelessness, consumer rights, financial matters, work issues, employment, unemployment, death, health and disability, civil rights, income maintenance, juvenile and education law. It runs the gamut. So you submit your question through the website after creating an account, and then you are notified within, say, 2 or 3 days with an answer. You log back in to read your reply. So that's a good tool and a nice resource to use when you, as I mentioned, can't wait until the legal line is offered on that first and third Wednesdays. And this is accessible just at texas.freelegalanswers.org. We did mention Texas Law Help already in terms of what they provide on the website, forms and other legal information, but they do have, as I mentioned, this live chat feature. You can talk with an attorney, paralegal, or law student Monday through Wednesday from 10 to 2 Central Time. This icon that you see here, live chat available, is in the lower right-hand corner of the website to let you know that the service is on. And they provide help navigating the website, providing legal information, and some legal advice. Then this is a plug for our website, the Harris County Law Library. We have a virtual reference desk, which really kicked into gear during the pandemic, but it's something we've maintained now that we've had a limited reopening. We offer this service Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We help you with accessing materials in the collection that you wouldn't be able to normally access when visiting the library because some of our collections actually closed off. But we do provide forms and information, links to legal aid organizations, all the things that we do to help reduce barriers to access to justice. And this is the phone number that you can call and speak with the librarian, also during the hours of 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And you can submit a question through our email form, which is here at harriscountylawlibrary.org/email reference. And someone will respond to your email within probably about 24 hours. And then we have on our website legal help links, which is just a page of legal aid organizations, some of the ones that we mentioned here, providing free and reduced cost services from like the Houston Volunteer Lawyers, as I mentioned, Lone Star Legal Aid. And then we also have a list of lawyer referral services. So some of those services include the State Bar of Texas Referral Directory, the Lawyer Referral Information Service, the Texas Board of Legal Specialization, and then the State Bar of Texas Find a Lawyer feature, which allows you to, once you've identified an attorney that you might want to hire, you can look them up in the State Bar of Texas and see when they were licensed, where they attended law school, if there's any disciplinary action been taken against them, that kind of thing. So that would be if you're looking to hire a lawyer, but some people actually try to take a different approach, and they might pursue mediation. And so there is in Harris County a dispute resolution center. It is committed to providing the best quality alternative dispute resolution service, specifically mediation for the Harris County community. And they offer all services are free to Harris County residents, regardless of your legal status. They work with county agencies, community leaders, nonprofit organizations, and churches to reach people in need of services. And they handle things like general disputes, which is a mediation session that can typically last about 2 hours. It's for disputes, handling mediation of disputes before a lawsuit is filed. And then divorce, they have a mediation program for divorce disputes, both before or after a lawsuit is filed. Active civil cases, this is for the mediation of disputes after a lawsuit is filed. They typically last about 4 hours and are conducted during business hours. Common disputes in this program include things like debt collection, personal injury, insurance claims, homeowners association issues, appellate court, probate court, or justice court matters, and just other civil legal matters. And then finally, they do offer a program for mediation of disputes that involve CPS, Children's Protective Services, juveniles, special education, truancy, failure to attend school, minor assaults, or property damage. And these mediations typically last between 2 and 4 hours and are again conducted during business hours, Monday through Friday. So on their website, you see that in the middle of the screen, this is actually their homepage. They have a button that says request mediation, and it will take you to a form that you can then complete to request a mediation services for your dispute. And as I mentioned, it is entirely free to residents of Harris County. Similarly, the Domestic Relations Office offers mediation services. This consists of 4 distinct yet interdependent divisions, which include the Family Court Services, Alternative Dispute Resolution, Legal Enforcement and Community Supervision, and their mission is to ensure that parents discover that mediation might be a preferred alternative to litigation, that parents can keep children out of parental conflict. They say that children receive both emotional and financial support from each parent. This is the things they work toward through mediation, and the Domestic Relations Office generally. These are, as I mentioned, lawyer referral services, mediation through the Dispute Resolution Center and the Domestic Relations Office. And then this is something that you might consider if it's not a free resource, but these are 2 things that we like to point people to on occasion. They are both nonprofit organizations. The one on the right here, Houston Access Justice Houston, their tagline is affordable lawyers for the rest of us. So they don't provide free services, but they do provide reduced cost services based on income. They also have they offer like a 10-minute phone consultation for free, but if you want to speak with them for like an hour through a video conference, you can pay $100 to sit down and speak with them on a video conference to discuss your legal matter. So that's a good option for folks with limited funds as well. Then there's this Texas Legal Service, which has been around for about 50 years. It's actually a legal insurance plan similar to just having health insurance. It's something that you pay into, and then when you need an attorney, you have access to your choice of attorneys for whatever legal matter you might need to address. And it is also designed for lower income or reduced income folks who just need legal representation but can't afford perhaps the top dollar lawyers who charge a higher fee. And I will mention anything that I've talked about so far really has been civil in nature, but the Public Defender's Office for criminal matters has an approach that they call holistic defense. They say that they combine legal advocacy with a broader recognition that most folks who are arrested and charged with a crime, most indigent folks, it's not the only issue with which they struggle. Their criminal case is not the only issue that is the struggle for them. They with holistic defense, they try to be advocates for the clients. They broaden their scope of work to include both underlying issues, legal and non-legal, that may have played a part in driving the clients to the criminal justice system in the first place. So they include trial and appellate attorneys, investigators, mitigation specialists, social workers who will meet with clients to assist them with obtaining medical care, housing, treatment, government benefits, and other services with the goal of keeping them from re-entering the criminal justice system. And then they also have immigration attorneys who can consult with non-citizen clients. That, I think, covers all of the resources, the legal aid organizations, and this is just a little bit more about the Law Library itself. If you wish to keep up with the news and events at the Law Library, we do have a blog. It's called Ex Libris Juris. It is an award-winning blog that features news, events, and legal or legal tech items of interest, and we try to publish something on our blog just about 3 times a week on average. Tuesday through Thursday, with an occasional Fun Friday post on sort of a fun legal topic. But there's a lot of good content here. And it goes back 5 years, I believe now. We've been writing this blog. And we also have a newsletter that you can subscribe to through a link on our website. You get a weekly email delivered to your inbox. It features information about news, events, training that we're offering, any library closures, and links to the recent blog post. If you wish to connect with us, we have several different, we have a presence on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, and you can follow us at any of these websites as well. And finally, I think this is our last slide. So if there are any questions, I'll wrap it up there. I think we're getting down to about 1 hour. But I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you so very much, Heather. I haven't seen any questions coming in yet, but I think one participant is typing as we speak. Okay. I just want to say thank you so very much. This presentation has been full of lots of great information. And we did not a question, but a comment from a participant. No questions, but great information. So there's a second there. Wonderful presentation, lots of good information. I just want to let all of our library users here for Harris County know this recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, and so you'll be able to view that afterwards. And I think all the links and all those phone numbers you can view the recording of this. Probably tomorrow we'll have it up, so people can be able to access that. So. Again, thank you, Heather, so much for taking the time to join us. If there are any other questions, we can go ahead and stop the recording. But like I said, this will be made available for others. And hopefully, Heather, this is not the last time we partner with y'all, and we can have you back again. Lots of great information and resources. I encourage anybody attending or reviewing this recording, please utilize the Law Library downtown. These librarians, they're experts in their fields, and they are here to assist all Harris County residents. So wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and stop the recording now.